For the first time in NBA history, all four road teams in the conference semifinals win game number one as the Warriors do their job, winning 99-88. And Steph Curry didn't play in the last 32 minutes and 19 seconds due to a left hamstring strain. We'll get into that, but the Warriors built a 23-point second-half lead and hold on for dear life as Buddy Hield scores 22 of his 24 points in the second half. And the Warriors steal game one in his best-of-7 Western Conference semis. And we'll talk all about it here on Toyota Warriors Postgame Live with the Hall of Famer Chris Whelan, NBA champs Festus Ezeli and Juan Toscano Anderson. I was crossing myself for a second. JTA. But are you not entertained? I'm Vontae Hill. Because I'm a little frazzled right now after that one.
Vontae.
Oh, I am awake right now. So Warriors win that one there, outlasting the T-Wolves. Look, the T-Wolves cannot shoot the three-point shot right now, but let me get your initial thoughts on this game one victory.
I can see why you started like that, because it's a little sleepy game tonight. All right, the Warriors, they just came off a game 7 win, and they were still riding that high. I think they surprised the Minnesota Timberwolves because they were resting the past few days. Held the Minnesota Timberwolves to 31 points in the first half. It just seems like the Warriors' energy, their efforts, obviously they shot it well from the three-point line, hit 18 threes. Shout out to Draymond Green, 4 threes for you, Vontae. Buddy Hield, 5 for 8 from the three-point line. They just put a lot of pressure offensively there in the first half.
That's a gritty win for the Warriors. That's the gutsiest win I've seen in quite some time from this team.
Absolutely. Look, the game got a little ugly in the second quarter, but as Festus said earlier, you either test it or rest it. But I don't know if you said that. Maybe you stole that from Fezzi. Look, what I saw from the Dubs, Steph came out rolling, Draymond got rolling, and then when it got a little slow, Buddy got rolling. And then there's only one basketball, right? So all you need is one guy to stay hot and keep the, momentum and rhythm flowing, and that's what we saw tonight from the Dubs.
Yeah, like you said, but I think this was a gritty win. I thought Draymond Green was phenomenal in that first half. At halftime, Draymond and Steph combined for 29 of the 41. Unfortunately, the T-Wolves couldn't do anything. They were tripping over each other. They scored 30 points. But more importantly, Steph gets hurt, and they come out in the third quarter and really put it on the T-Wolves. Buddy Hield gets going. Jimmy Butler had a great game. But I thought to come out like Draymond and Steph did in the first half, set that tone. They had confidence, but that third quarter was everything.
Yeah, 36-29 quarter for the Golden State Warriors, a +7 right after halftime, and they built a 23-point lead in that frame. But the biggest story of this game is the injury status of Stephen Curry as he strained his left hamstring with about 8 minutes and 19 seconds. It actually happened before, and he got a little bit later in this postgame show, but a tough blow for Stephen Curry, and he was locked in right off the rip, Fezzi. 13 points. He had that look in his eye like he was about to drop 40 on the T-Wolves.
Yeah, this is a big game. All right. This first game, you got to set the tone, and Steph had that look in his eyes. Sad that he's leaving with an injury because the hamstring is tough to come back from. The part that I loved about this game is the bench never relented. Steve Kerr went to different lineups, had Pat Spencer in the game, had Moses Moody in the game, kept trying to find somebody that was going to give him a spark. I got to give Pat Spencer a lot of love. He was attacking, he was going downhill, getting into the paint, gave the Warriors a big boost. Kevon Looney. Big offensive rebounds. A lot of the 18 offensive rebounds that the Warriors got tonight was from Kevon Looney. I thought he did a great job putting pressure on the rim. Draymond Green did a good job being the point forward. Both him and Jimmy Butler in the game. They just orchestrated and found a way to win, and this is a gritty win that you could build on the rest of the series.
Absolutely. I felt it was done by committee on both ends of the ball. As I said before, Steph got rolling, then it was Dre, then it was Buddy. First half, couldn't find it. Mm-hmm. And was that because he was missing shots, or was that because Dubs were making it tough for him? I'd like to think it was because the Dubs were making it tough for him by committee. He saw bodies all night.
44-31 halftime. I think the T-Wolves scored 11 points in that second quarter. But ultimately, the three-point shot, once again, was the difference. Very similar field goal attempts, very similar free throw makes. But the Warriors plus 39 from the three-point line. Game 7 against the Rockets. Plus 36. So, the three-point shot has been a huge weapon for them, but holding his team to 88 points. I didn't think Minnesota had this type of offensive futility in them. I knew the Rockets did, but, this was a game the Warriors stole, and now with Steph Curry hamstring, maybe they can buy a game or two and get him healthy.
T-Wolves go 0 for 15 in the first half from the three-point line. Remember, they're coming off a Game 5 win over the LA Lakers where they went 7 of 47 from three. In that second quarter, it was just ugly. The T-Wolves go 4 of 18 from the floor, 0 of 7 from the three-point line, just 11 points. And Anthony Edwards, Willie, as you just mentioned here, just 1 point in that first half.
Yeah, and Anthony Edwards has, improved his three-point shooting. But he was missing layups tonight. I thought he missed some layups, But I thought the Warriors did a good job contesting at the rim and not conceding those easy layups.
I think we should just let Draymond play against Rudy Gobert every game the rest of the playoffs, all right? He was extremely motivated today. 18 of his points, 16 in the first half, and you love to see Draymond aggressive from the three-point line.
And look at this, JT, as Draymond Green scored 14 points in that second quarter, including 4 made threes in that frame. They just allowed 31 points in that first half. It's the fewest points allowed in the first half of a playoff game. Defense won that first half there, JTA.
Absolutely. Defense.
Like that self-check,
Defense. Defense.
Self-check or defense?
Self-check, bro. Hey, they were going to call like this. But we'll give him defense. 31's 31. He was seeing bodies at the rim, but also guys were pursuing. They never gave up on the play. So Edwards always felt bodies near him on every shot.
But think about Draymond's offense in that quarter. People always discuss his defense. We brought it up in the pregame show for game number 7. His offense was needed. He scored 16, sets the tone in the first quarter with 8 points. Tonight in that second quarter, he scores 14, JTA. So his offense does matter for this basketball team and for them moving forward.
Absolutely. When Draymond Green is scoring the basketball, it's a totally different team. Obviously, it's more offensive firepower, but the offensive flow looks a lot different. Draymond Green can, get into facilitating. Steph can find space. Guys are playing him a little bit more honest instead of, sagging off in the paint or hanging out at the hash mark. So I just think it gives Golden State a totally different look when he's hitting shots.
I mean, it's their shots too. It's demoralizing for the defense of the other team when they're sagging off saying, this is the game plan. We're going to lay off of Draymond and let him take those shots. He hits those shots and Draymond's not going to be quiet about him either. So when he hits, everyone he hits, he's talking to the bench. It is demoralizing for the other team's defense. But one of the bigger ones that he hits was when Steph got hurt. It was calling for a sub. Draymond hits that three. They go to the timeout. That was a good momentum building three. They just led them through the half.
Well, defensively, this strategy that Minnesota used tonight is exactly what Draymond's more comfortable with, and the Warriors are comfortable with it. They've seen this for years where you lay off him. What Houston did was pressure the basketball with a small, take the ball movement out. Not as comfortable, but that last game in Houston, Draymond got going offensively. I thought that confidence carried over. And tonight, with no one guarding him, with his confidence, was a huge difference. Those shots are going to be there. If Gobert's on the floor, Draymond's going to have these looks all night. And I said pregame, I'm not kidding around. If Draymond can continue to have games like this, 16, 6, and 6, this team can win the championship.
Wow, 16 points in the first half for Draymond Green. And in the third quarter, we all discussed the first 6 minutes of the third quarter was going to be huge for the Golden State Warriors. How would Minnesota come out after being down 13 at the half and only scoring 31 points? Now, Minnesota was starting to charge back here, cut it to 13. Big time shot there by Jimmy Butler. The bank was open late on the Tuesday. Nice steal by Pat Spencer. He's running the break and in Buddy Hield. Look, Pat Spencer and Buddy Hield running in the same spot here. Look, Pat Spencer, Buddy Hield. Get out the way, Pat. Nice little screen right there by Pat Spencer.
IQ by Pat Spencer.
No doubt. Gets the steal and the screen. Unlocks Buddy Hield there again. Buddy Hield scoring 22 of his 24 points in the second half.
Look how tough this is right here.
And you heard Brian Anderson on the call for TNT. That's straight out of the YMCA, bully.
That's a big time move. Pat Spencer can play. He's going to get a deal from some, if not the Warriors. He's going to be playing somewhere next year in the NBA. He's a baller.
36-29 score in that third quarter.
Yeah, those points are really important. Pat Spencer going downhill, setting those screens. I mean, these are the plays that you look at Pat Spencer's box score tonight. What do you have? 7 points? 4 points? 4 points tonight?
4 points there.
Well, these are the things that you don't get to see. You miss the screen for Buddy Hield.
We didn't.
You missed the big.
We saw it.
I know, but when you're looking at the box score, you miss the screen for Buddy Hield. You miss the bucket going downhill, and the point where you really need a bucket, that builds the momentum. And then they come down and get a stop and just keep running. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Warriors defense and the Warriors offense. Just the ability to come out and respond in the third quarter.
And then JTA, you think about Buddy Hield, 16 points in that frame, picking up where he left off in game 7. He had an atrocious first half. He goes 0 for 7. Then he heats up knowing that Steph Curry was out for the remainder of the game.
Shoot or shoot. You know what? One day Klay Thompson told me, he said, I don't care how many shots I miss. I'm never going to stop shooting. And I think Buddy has the same mentality. Shoot or shoot. He kept it going. Kept shooting with confidence. And like you said, I think it rolls over from the previous game, right? You either rested or tested. And they came in with the flow and ready to go.
That mentality is justified. Buddy Hield's mentality is justified, much like Klay Thompson, because they put in the practice time. They get their shots up. They get their reps up. They know if they get open enough, they're going to knock those shots down. Their confidence never wavers.
Buddy Hield became the first player in NBA history to make 14 threes over a 2-game span in playoff history. That's absurd when you think about Klay Thompson.
Here for you. on NBA TV. You're going to hear from the players, you're going to hear from the coaches, and you're going to hear from these guys. And it's funny because we were doing the post-game show for our first game when this one was going on and when Steph Curry went down. And John, I remember you saying like, oh boy, watch out for the Timberwolves in the second half. They're going to take advantage of this. They did not do that in this game.
No, they did not. They kept shooting a lot of threes, and I think they only made 5 threes tonight. But I like what they did later in the fourth quarter. But you got to give credit to Jimmy Butler, Draymond, and you got to give a lot of credit to Buddy Hield. Those guys continue to play the right way, make the right reads. Draymond's basically their point guard, just like Jimmy. And they kept making shots, even though Timberwolves kept chipping away. They started off sluggish. You could tell a couple of days off didn't work for them. But give credit to the Warriors to continue to compete the way they did in the second half when knowing Steph Curry was out.
Yeah, I'm stuck, guys, because you got to give Steve Kerr and what the Warriors did and show their championship pedigree on how they mucked the game up a little bit, continue to have their organized chaos where now Buddy became Steph running off screens and just kind of had the Wolves on their heels, which was shocking. Then when you look at the stat sheet, John, I would have never guessed the Warriors would have out-rebounded them by 10, knowing they don't really have any bigs. They didn't start Kevon Looney, didn't play Trace Jackson at all. So it's like, how do they out-rebound? Whether grit, mucking the game up, if you will, and then, John, we talked about it. You know how much I love the three ball. It's like, it was just too many three-point shots taken by the Wolves, knowing that they had any bigs, why they weren't attacking the paint a little more to wear them down. Just very shocked by that.
Yeah, to your point, 18 offensive rebounds for the Golden State Warriors. If you're Minnesota, that cannot happen, especially with the size difference.
So when you're watching the game, those were effort rebounds. So it wasn't like the Warriors got in there and outboxed you out. They were just in there clawing and scrapping and as we like to say, those 50-50 balls. The Warriors got most every 50-50 ball in the second half.
You know what's kind of crazy is in that third quarter, the Warriors actually extended their lead without Steph Curry. And a big part of that was Buddy Hield. And you look at his numbers here, 24 points in this game, 5 of 8 from 3. John, it's not like he started off this game great. No. He was struggling in that first half.
Well, third quarter, you know what I mean? I feel like they ran their offense a little bit more through him. Some of the plays you probably run for Steph Curry, you ran for Buddy Hield, knowing Steph was out. But you got to give credit to like Steve Kerr and their coaching staff because the second quarter before we get to the halftime, second quarter only had 11 points from the Timberwolves. They started off from the beginning of the game. It's like 3 after 3, not attacking the basket. So I bet you when they watch this film, how they attack the basket in the second half is the way they got to do it in the first half. Because if you do that for the whole game, now you get those drive and kick threes instead of coming off pick and roll and shooting those threes. But I looked at it as Julius Randle. You can't give me 3 rebounds.
Oh, my goodness.
You got to have more than 3 rebounds. Like Ant-Man got 14. Rudy Gobert had 11 in the time he had. When we were watching the game, the first 3 minutes, he had 5 rebounds. He has to be dominant, but Julius Randle has to be more dominant on the glass because they're playing small ball against him.
Minnesota shooting just 39% from the field, 17% from 3. Going to be interesting to see what Chris Finch had to say about this Game 1 loss.
Chris, just what did you see that led to such struggles offensively?
Poor spacing, terrible rhythm, didn't make the next pass a lot of times, really poor in transition. I think that's where we kind of cost ourselves the chance to stay in the game early. We had opportunities to run out, and just our transition decision-making was diabolical. Obviously then we couldn't hit a shot, but, I didn't like the fact that we couldn't repeatedly generate good shots. We should have been able to, really. So
as the shots kept missing, did you see guys kind of mentally struggling with that?
Yeah, sure. I absolutely saw that, and can't have that. It starts with Anthony. I thought he struggled early, and then you could just kind of see the light go out a little bit for a while. And then, obviously we had to try to get him going in the second half. But, I think, it was one of those games where it kind of came out with a predetermined mindset of what he was trying to do, and just rather than just playing the game that was in front of him. So,
what do you think defensively, especially over the middle couple of quarters? It just seemed like there were probably some.
Yeah, just certainly some breakdowns. I didn't like the way we started defensively with some of the things we were doing. We haven't discussed any of that all week, making stuff up out there. So, I don't know. Didn't look like us at all. Didn't feel like us at all. And, all credit to them. They came in, and took it to us. So.
How much changes for you guys if Curry has to miss multiple games in this series?
Pardon?
How much changes for you guys if Curry has to miss time in the series? Like in terms of like how you attack them and I guess how you defensively game plan, all of that?
Yeah, well, obviously, allows us to move matchups around and different things like that. So we'll look at it.
When the 3-point shots haven't been falling for you guys, do you try to change what you're doing, or as long as you're generating good looks, that's what's important?
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously, you go to the basket a little bit more. I didn't think we solely relied on the three. I thought we were generating threes by getting to the paint a little bit. We didn't finish well around the rim when we had opportunities to do so. That's certainly got to be an improvement for us. A lot of the shots are good. It's just maybe not the rhythm that we need to be playing in. Right now, we got to establish a better rhythm.
You mentioned it kind of starts with Ant. Is that something maybe you mentioned kind of the energy, the spirit starts with Ant. Is that something that you and he talk about maybe ahead of game 2 now?
No, I mean, what is there to talk about? I mean, you're the leader of the team, and you got to come out and set the tone. In all ways that happens. And if your shot's not going, like you still have to carry the energy. So, I don't think there's, if I got to talk to guys about having the right energy coming into opening second round game, then, we're not on the same page. So
when you say did make the extra pass, was that also mostly in transition, or was it in the half court?
No, in half court too. I thought they did a good job of closing you out. I thought there was a lot of open guys next to the shooter that we could have made one more pass. Keep them on the run a little bit more. So,
and then the zone, they run it a lot. You expected.
I mean, they ran it for about 5 minutes, and we struggled against it, but they ran it for about 5 minutes in the second. So.
Chris, how do you impose your size advantage more in game 2?
Well, we've got to, obviously Rudy had a moment in the fourth quarter out there. We need more of that for sure. I thought Julius started well, and we've got to be better on the glass. We've got to be, win the battle in the paint, whether on both sides of the ball, so, but, it was defensively, I thought, where we got a bit loose with those guys. And that's why we had to go to a different lineup. So.
The first round is obviously source material for the Warriors to prep for this one.
Pardon?
The first round is source material for the Warriors to prep for this one. Did you see anything in terms of the way they played you defensively as a carryover of how the Lakers played you in game 5 when you shot poorly from 3?
No, I mean, the Lakers put 2 on the ball pretty much all night long. These guys were more heavy switching, kind of swarming Ant and stuff like that. So.
We still have a lot of work to do, and there are a lot of great teams in the West. Whoever they say the best in the league, I want to go against them every night.
The greatest shooter the game has ever seen.
I get to play Robin. That's my Batman, and you got all the villains over there.
Whoa! This young man is a star. Jimmy Butler. Oh, what a shot from Curry.
I've been dreaming of this all my life.
The final matchup of the second round gets underway tonight with the Warriors on the road to face the T-Wolves. Anthony Edwards is hoping he can take down another legend and stop Steph Curry's quest for a 5th ring. The Warriors and the Timberwolves are facing off in the playoffs for the first time in league history. The T-Wolves finished off the Lakers in 5 games, and it took the Warriors 7 games to get past the Houston Rockets. Since the 2018-29 playoffs, teams are 5-15 in game 1 of the next series when they're coming off a 7-game series. So, Wendy, let's go to you first. Which team needs game 1 more, the Warriors or the T-Wolves? Wendy, can you hear me?
I think it's the Wolves. And that's because just like last night, history says, despite what Jokic and the Nuggets did, history says that when you're coming off a 7-game series with 1-day rest and going on the road, you're not going to be at your best. The Wolves have to take advantage of that. They are very fortunate to have been the 6th seed and get to the second round of the playoffs in this conference and have home court advantage. They've got to hold on to it. They've got to take advantage of their depth and their size and punish the Warriors. The Warriors, as much as they've accomplished, they had a flat end of the regular season. That forced them in the play-in, so they had to do extra work to get into the playoffs. Then they had a 3-1 lead against the Rockets, and they just gave away Game 5, in my opinion, and lost Game 6 at home. They extended that series. They've got to be punished for putting this extra work on, and it's got to be the Wolves. And I just say something about the Wolves. They finished the season 17-4. Once Julius Randle came back from injury and got his legs up underneath him, and once Dante DiVincenzo got over the foot injury that was bothering him throughout the middle of the season, this was really a lot closer to the team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year than was going for the first 2-3 months of the season. They have to act like a favorite. In my view, they are a favorite in this series. Act like a favorite. Handle your business tonight. Put the Warriors on their heels. That's absolutely the mission.
Dub Nation. Last night's game brought a whirlwind of emotions for Golden State Warriors fans. The team dominated with a crushing 148-106 win over the San Antonio Spurs, marking their highest-scoring performance of the season. But the celebration was dampened by growing concern for Jonathan Kuminga, who re-aggravated his right ankle, the same injury that kept him out for 31 games earlier this season. The timing couldn't be worse. With the playoffs looming, the Warriors desperately need a healthy, complete roster. Kuminga went down in the second quarter during an aggressive drive to the basket, landing awkwardly. At first, it was feared he had suffered a tailbone injury, similar to Stephen Curry's in 2021. However, tests revealed a new sprain in the same ankle. He will be re-evaluated tomorrow to assess the full extent of the damage. Fans are understandably nervous. Kuminga plays a crucial role on both ends of the floor, especially in transition play and defensive switches. His athleticism and versatility make him a valuable piece in Steve Kerr's rotation. Despite the injury setback, the Warriors put on an incredible collective performance. They recorded 42 assists, 17 steals, and 34 fast break points, showcasing their offensive firepower and defensive intensity. Brandon Podziemski lit up the scoreboard, hitting 7 of 9 from deep, while Moses Moody broke out of a slump, shooting 7 of 11 from the field and 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. The Warriors' defense was suffocating, holding the Spurs to just 17 points in the second quarter. Jimmy Butler, who had faced criticism for a slow start against the Pelicans, came out with renewed fire, stealing possessions and finishing emphatic dunks that electrified the crowd. He also went 4-for-4 at the free throw line, a promising sign given his recent struggles there. Coach Steve Kerr used the large lead to give valuable minutes to bench players like Kevin Knox, Pat Spencer, and Trace Jackson-Davis. Jackson-Davis, in particular, impressed with his paint presence and athletic finishes, sparking renewed calls for a larger role in the rotation. The depth displayed was a testament to the Warriors' offensive and defensive cohesion. With the victory, Golden State holds on to 6th place in the Western Conference standings, staying out of the play-in zone. For now, the race is tight, especially with the Clippers sliding and the Grizzlies reeling after firing their head coach. The next game against Memphis will be pivotal. Kuminga's health remains a key concern. Despite some ups and downs, his defensive energy, scoring potential, and explosiveness are essential for this team. His absence had been felt in recent weeks, and his return was a relief for Kerr and the rotation. A serious setback now would be a huge blow with just 8 games left. Meanwhile, Stephen Curry continues to play at an MVP level, and the team appears to be clicking at the right time. The hope is to maintain this momentum, secure a solid playoff spot, and avoid the play-in tournament altogether. Beyond this season, Kuminga's contract situation looms large. Should the Warriors offer him a max contract? If not, will they match another team's offer? The front office has to decide, is Kuminga a cornerstone for the future or a potential trade asset? Letting the market set his value might be the smartest approach. A 5-year, $150 million deal could strike the right balance, committing to his growth without crippling future cap flexibility. What's your take? Should the Warriors lock Kuminga in long-term? Drop your opinion in the comments. Looking ahead, rim protection remains a need, and there are solid free agency options the team could explore. The Warriors continue to monitor the trade market, looking for a big-time addition to support one last championship run during Steph Curry's prime. This offseason could redefine the franchise. Will they double down for another title or pivot to financial restructuring? Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office face major decisions. Fans are watching closely, and the anticipation surrounding the Warriors' next move is growing. If you're a true Warriors fan and want to stay on top of every twist and turn, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. New videos and updates are coming nearly every day. In closing, while the future holds uncertainty, the Warriors are still a formidable force in the NBA. With smart decisions and a bit of luck, they could be right back in the title picture. Go Dubs!